I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it.
This podcast does not provide medical advice. Please listen to the complete disclosure at the end of the recording.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Everyone Dies, the podcast. I'm Marianne Matzo.
And I'm somewhere around here. Here I am. I'm Charlie Navarrete.
Such a relief to have you.
Yes.
So, relax, get something good to eat, drink, I'm into that.
Uh-huh.
And you're going to need to have some sustenance because we are going to move it today.
Move it,
And-
move it. Move it.
And thank
sorry.
you.
Go on. Mhm.
And thank you for spending the next hour with Charlie and me. In the first half, we have our recipe of the week. And because life is too important to be taken seriously, Charlie has a few bad jokes. In the second half, I'm going to be talking about exercise and the importance of moving it. And in our third half, we have an interview with Jackie Solimini, who specializes in wellness and exercise. So, Charles,
Yes?
what are you doing? What you got for the first half? What are you making me, baby?
Hello. Have you ever tasted fresh, young garlic?
Oh, baby.
You know what? Aren't there laws about tasting fresh on things?
At our age, yes, there are.
Yeah.
But we can dream. But
Okay,
we can
yes.
dream.
Yes. Well, or you can go to your local farmer's market and befriend the garlic whisperer. Likely a sun-kissed farmer with sparkling white teeth, and watch as they carefully peel the white, plump garlic cloves. Marianne, this is not the McCormick garlic salt we grew up with. And really, is
Man,
anything?
I love that stuff, though.
Yeah. This is young, fresh garlic, whose fragrance is light, not overpowering. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the feedback on this description. When you get home, rub sliced garlic onto a warm, toasted bread. Oh, bread!
Bread,
And
Charles.
drizzle with olive oil. And just a pinch of flaky sea salt, and prepare to be blown away. Blown away. Really need to do something about this teleprompter. Which actually reminds me of a joke or two, not three. So, Mr. Smith wakes up one morning to find a bear on his roof. On a hunch, yes, a bear. Talk about the bare necessities. Luckily, he wasn't bare, naked. On a hunch, he looks in the yellow pages, and sure enough, there's an ad for bear removal. He calls the number. The bear remover arrives and pulls out of his van a ladder, a baseball bat, a shotgun, and a mean old pit bull. What are you going to do? Mr. Smith asks. I'm going to put this ladder up against the roof, go up there, and knock the bear off with this baseball bat. When the bear falls, the pit bull is trained to clamp down on his private parts and not let go. The bear will be subdued enough for me to put him in the cage in the back of the van. He then hands the gun to Mr. Smith, who asks, what's the shotgun for? Well, if the bear knocks me off the roof, shoot the dog.
It's so bad. Where do you get this stuff?
The internet.
Mm-hmm.
Next. A hunter kills and eats a bald eagle and is arrested for violating the endangered species. I know.
God.
It's the stuff you find on the internet. What's this about? Well, of course, he's arrested for violating the Endangered Species Act. He pleads guilty and throws himself on the mercy of the court. Your Honor, I had no idea, none, that it was illegal to kill an eagle and eat it. If you let me go, I promise to never, I swear, never do it again. The judge tells him, you've committed a very serious crime, but it seems you weren't aware of the law. So I'm willing to overlook it this one time and just that nothing like this will ever happen again. However, before I let you go, it's been illegal to kill protected species, any protected species, for many, many years. So very few people have ever eaten a bald eagle. For the record, can you please tell everyone what a bald eagle tastes like? The hunter says, pretty good. Like a cross between a spotted owl and a condor. I kind of like that one. Not killing the endangered species, of course. So please go to our webpage for a link for the recipe. Please. For a link for the recipe and additional resources for this program. We hope you will follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and remember to rate and review this podcast. As a nonprofit organization, we are dependent on the kindness of strangers and always appreciate your donations. Please go to our webpage to donate in support of our work. www.everyonedies.org. That's www.dies.org. Marianne.
Charles.
What's up? Second half.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was still laughing over those jokes. I got carried away.
You laughed, you cried. Yes.
I know. Mostly cried. But I thought today we would talk about the importance of exercise. And when, I was working at the cancer center, working with people receiving chemotherapy, it knocks the stuffing out of you. Having cancer, any serious illness, just really makes you really tired. And people would say, Doc, what can I do about this? And I'd say, well, all the evidence, all the research says that the best intervention is to exercise. And they'd look at me like, I don't have the energy to exercise. I'm tired all the time. All I want to do is sleep. But the reality is that if you're really, really tired and all you do is sleep, you're going to be more tired. You're not going to feel better, and you're going to zap, your muscle strength and everything else. So as with just about everything in life, you have to have a balance. There's this energy balance and conservation. So you find that balance between rest and exercise. You can't rest 24 hours a day.
Right.
You have to move it.
Move it.
And that'll give us energy to do other things that we'd really like to do. It's not healthy to exercise all the time. And honestly, that's not a problem of mine. But neither is it healthy to.
So sometimes I do have a routine. If I think, gosh, my wrists are not as, I can't grab things as well as I used to. Or I notice just sometimes just picking up like small things or bigger things. My arms, shake a little bit. So what I do for exercise, I have 2 martinis in front of me, each with more olives than I really, really need. And just, lift one up with one hand, take a little sippy, put it down. But, I control the motion just so that there's that little exercise. And then I repeat on the left side with the left hand.
Well, that's one idea, and I hope that works for you. But for our listening audience, I'd like to suggest that even if you don't feel well, if you feel totally exhausted, there are benefits to moving your body. It can be easy to get into a pattern of asking other people to fetch things for us rather than standing up and doing it ourselves. And, I noticed that with myself. I had major surgery in January, and then I had a major infection. And so for like 2-3 months, I was like really feeling not well. And I'd say, David, would you mind getting me a glass of water? Do you mind getting me a Diet Pepsi? Or, oh, crap, I forgot X in the other room. Would you get it for me? It was, and he's wonderful, so he'd go and get it. And he would do that for the rest of my life. If I didn't stop saying, stop to think, I need to stop this. I need to get up and get my own Diet Pepsi or whatever, because it's very easy to sit still. Now, mind you, I'm out in the garden 5 hours a day, so it's not like I'm a slug, but it's really easy to let other people help you, especially when they want to help you.
Yep.
Don't fall into that. Remember, you got legs, you got arms, and it might take you a little longer. You might say, I'm too tired to do this, but there's also a sense of accomplishment that, you did these things for yourself. So standing up, doing things for ourselves that helps your body, mind, and spirit are going to benefit from moving it. So too much time spent resting or sitting can cause less body function, muscle weakness, reduced range of motion. That's, each of your joints don't move as well as they could if you were actually using them and stretching and moving. In cancer teams, in chronic illness teams, they tell patients to be as physically active as possible before, during, and after cancer treatment. You get an illness, you don't know beforehand when that's going to happen. But with cancer, once you've been diagnosed, that there's going to be surgery, there's going to be chemotherapy, and you think, well, I'm just going to lay on the couch and eat Oreos because I'm really depressed about this and I'm really unhappy about this, or whatever it is that you're feeling. But in reality, starting an exercise program before you have surgery, before you have chemo, it's called prehab. Instead of waiting to need rehabilitation after things aren't working very well, make sure that you're in the best shape that you can be in before you go in for treatment.
Yeah. I mean, what we always advocate, prepare. Yes.
Prepare.
Yep.
So strengthening your body is going to give you energy. It's going to improve your circulation and your blood pressure and reduce symptoms like constipation, fatigue, and breathlessness. Now, it can benefit your mind by helping your body and brain work better, helps you to relax, helps you to sleep better. If you're sleeping better, you're getting a better quality sleep, which will help you be less fatigued, and improve your overall sense of well-being, decrease your anxiety, stress, and depression, and improve your concentration, making you more alert. And there are research studies, Charlie, for every one of these things, documenting that exercise is really the answer to all of these issues. Now, be sure that you get a physical activity recommendation from your physician, your nurse practitioner, whoever your primary care practitioner is. Talk with them, say, here's what I want to do. Make sure that there's not something they know that you don't. Now, God forbid your primary health care provider would know something that you don't know, but it might not be on the internet, and you need to go and just be sure. So you want to avoid inactivity. You want to be able to return to your normal daily activities as soon as possible after whatever diagnosed treatment medicine you're on. And even if you're at the end of life, you want to maintain as much of your normal activity as it's possible. And that requires taking part in regular physical activity. You want to start really slow, build up the amount of physical activity that you're doing over time. Now, what they say is that you should exercise several times a week for at least 10 minutes at a time, that you should do stretching, that kind of thing. Yeah. And people think, oh my God, I can't walk for 10 minutes. I'm not going to do this at all. Well, you can walk for 2 minutes 5 times a day and get your 10 minutes in. You don't have to have it all at once for it to count. So walk to your mailbox, walk in your driveway. If you have a pet, take them for a walk. If you don't have a pet, adopt one and take them for a walk. You want to remember that physical activity is going to improve your physical function, decrease fatigue, and improve your quality of life. I'm going to keep saying that until you believe me.
I believe.
So, do you believe?
Yes. I believe I'll have another drink. Hang on a second. Keep talking. I'll be right back. Go ahead.
If you have underlying problems with your feet or your balance, or if you have weak bones or bone metastasis, be sure that you are chatting with your physician or your healthcare practitioner before you start. So, first thing that I want to tell you, and I tell all my patients, is that when you get up in the morning, you put your shoes on. Flip-flops, slippers, anything other than good walking shoes are dangerous. And how do I know this? Because every time I've had a patient fall, I have said to them, what were you wearing on your feet? Because in the beginning, when I had my first appointment with them, I would say, when you get up in the morning, put on your shoes and get a good pair of walking shoes, a good pair of sneakers. It's going to support your feet. Women will tell me, well, that's just ugly. It's like, this isn't about fashion. This is about your health. Put your shoes on immediately. Because I can't begin to tell you how many accidents people have. Oh, I'm just going to run and get my mail. And they're wearing their slippers. They trip over their slippers. They're on the ground. And I tell you this because, like I said, I've had so many patients who then come in and I say, what was on your feet? I had one woman who came in a wheelchair with had broken her hip. And just the previous time I'd seen her, I had said the same lecture to her, and she's like, but, sneakers are ugly. I like my flip-flops. So she comes in. She's in a wheelchair. I said, what happened? She's going into one of those, all-you-can-eat places. All-you-can-eat places, and tripped on the, saddle on the floor. Not horse riding saddle, but, the thing between two sides. And fell and broke her hip. And I said,
man.
So what kind of shoes did you have on? And she won't look me in the eye. I said, come on, you can tell me. She says, I was wearing my flip-flops. And I just looked at her and I just shrugged. And she's like, there was nothing to say. I had done the education. She had understood it. She thought sneakers looked ugly. Now she's in a wheelchair. I mean, what can I don't, what are you going to do? So I'm telling all of you, sneakers on, and you take them off when you get into bed. Don't say, I'll just wear my slippers for a while. Slippers are trip machines.
What about walking barefoot?
Your shoes. No, because there's things on the floor or things on the ground that you step on and you say, holy crap, that hurt. Like your dog leaves their bones around or their grandkids leave Tinker Toys or whatever it is. No. Wear your shoes. Also, you don't want to get, splinters or other things in your feet. It just ain't worth it, folk. Put your shoes on.
Sound advice.
Sound advice. So also stay away from uneven surfaces that can make you fall. I said you can walk in the driveway, but if your driveway is,
Slope.
4 different surface levels, not a good idea. You need, a flat, firm surface. And, in our heads, we are forever young. We think, I'm just going to pop across the grass and pick up that can that somebody left there. And there's, 6 gopher holes between you and that can, and you're on the ground.
Yeah, that's a big problem in
the city, I know.
In New York City, yeah. It's gopher holes.
If you plan to exercise outside, make sure it's safe, it's well lit. You're going to be at more risk for infection, so stay away from public gyms and crowds. Just keep yourself safe. Swimming, if you're able to do that, that's a good activity. Be careful on slippery floors. If you're someone who's getting radiation therapy, be sure you check with your radiation team before you do that. Make sure that you don't have any skin irritation or sores. And rinse out when you get out of the pool to lower your chance of skin irritation because they use an awful lot of chlorine in there. Take someone with you to exercise, someone who can keep track of you. Carry a mobile phone. David has been, running since he was, 15 years old, and he never takes his phone with him. He doesn't have any kind of tracking advice. And he is now 67 years old. And I said to him, you run on these hills and you could be dead and the buzzards could be, eating your eyeballs out and I would never know it because I don't know where you are and if you're moving and you have no way to call anybody because, we're rural and like I said, he runs on these hills.
Yeah.
And I said, I just would really appreciate if you think about taking your phone with you so at least we can track you. Don't answer it, put it on silent because he doesn't like to be disturbed when he's running. Right. But just have it there, because, I don't want the coyotes to get him or other kinds of wild animals. So he thought about it, and he has one of those fanny packs, and he throws his phone in there. And if he's gone too long, I can look and see if he's actually moving or where he is. So
Yeah.
I feel better. So you can be active for only a few minutes a day. That's going to help you. Don't say to yourself, well, I'm not lifting weights for 3 hours, and I'm not doing this, and I'm not doing Zumba, and it doesn't matter. Move your body.
Yeah, just move
it.
Move. Don't use a remote to change channels. Get up and change the channels every time. Yeah, just move.
So you want to increase your time slowly, and increase over time how often and how long you can exercise. Your muscles are going to tell you when you need to slow down and rest. Exercise as you're able. Don't push yourself. If you feel tired, then do a little bit of light stretching and sit down. If you're steady on your feet, don't stand up when you exercise. You can exercise sitting down. You can get those elastic bands and, stretch out your legs, and you can do leg lifts, and you can get, a couple cans or a couple martinis, and,
But the extra olives, that's the secret to
challenge your muscles in your arms.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You can do this. Avoid any activity that puts you at risk for falls or injury. If you notice swelling, pain, dizziness, blurred vision, make sure you call your healthcare practitioner right away. If you have numbness in your feet or problems with balance, you're at a higher risk for falls. So here's what I tell my patients. What? Yes, you put your shoes on first thing in the morning, but then before you get up and walk, look at your feet. Because if you've had numbness, let's say from chemotherapy, a lot of those chemotherapy agents, cause peripheral neuropathy and numbness in your feet. If you look at your feet, your brain kind of connects to where are my feet, and you get that message, and you can see if your feet are flat on the floor and in the right position to stand up and move. Now, I know that sounds silly, but please trust me that those messages are not firing the way that they used to. So actually looking at your feet, making sure that they're flat on the floor, will help you keep yourself safe. When you stand up from a sitting position or from laying in bed, stop a second. Let your brain catch up with the change in movement so that when you change positions, you don't end up falling on the floor. When you exercise, you want to make sure that you're using large muscle groups like your thighs, your abdomen, your belly, your chest, and your back. You want to stretch, do aerobic fitness if you're able to, but aerobic just means you're using oxygen. So, if you're underfit or not feeling well, walking to the mailbox could be an aerobic activity. I was at a doctor's appointment yesterday, and this woman got in the elevator with me, and her shirt was soaking wet, and she was breathing so hard. I was getting worried about her. I'm watching her. It's like that thing that nurses do, is watch you out of the side of your eye and think, do I have to call a code or what's going on here? It's just what we do. But she was breathing so hard, walking in from the parking garage in to see her doctor, and soaking wet and having trouble getting her breath. So for her, that was definitely a greater aerobic activity than anybody young and healthy doing Zumba. So keep that in mind. Be sure you warm up your muscles before you start. Just move them a little bit, roll your shoulders, roll through each of your joints. That helps keep your flexibility, helps keep you from getting hurt. It's not about trying to get into the Olympics or trying to impress anybody. What it's about is trying to keep your body as flexible and as able to move and to take care of yourself for as long as you can. So you want to make sure that you drink plenty of water, unless for some reason you've been told not to. If you have a catheter or a feeding tube, you want to avoid the pool, the lake, or ocean water, or other kinds of exposures that can cause infection. Also, you don't want to do resistance training that uses muscles in the area where your catheter is. I was going to say wherever your catheter is, but if it's a urine catheter, we know where that one is.
Yes, we
but
do.
you can have other IVs and other kinds of things, ports that are in. You don't want to do any activity that's going to cause that to get dislodged. You don't want to use heavy weights or do exercise that put too much stress on your bones if you have osteoporosis, if you had cancer that spread to the bone, arthritis, nerve damage, poor vision, poor balance, or weakness. You could pretty likely hurt yourself or break a bone, and that's not fun. So how much you need to exercise is really different for each person. The goal is to have your exercise program help you keep up your muscle strength and keep you able to do the things you want to do. The more active you are, the better you're going to be able to exercise and function. But if what you plan to do exercise, has to stop for any reason, keep active by even just doing your normal activities as much as you can. Get up and get your own glass of water or Diet Pepsi. The key to staying active is to keep your exercise program simple, fun. We have some links on our website in terms of relaxation techniques as ways to reduce stress and stretching and all of that kind of thing. So I know, because I am not somebody who intuitively loves exercise. I intuitively love sitting and reading. That is my idea of a great day. So starting an exercise program can be a big task. And despite what kind of health you're in, it can be a big task. But it can be even harder if you have a chronic illness, especially if you weren't used to exercising before your diagnosis. So start slowly, build up as you're able, be patient with yourself, and just move it.
Sound advice.
Thank you.
Our guest this week is Jackie Solomini, a wellness counselor, trainer, health educator, and whole foods advocate. She is a 2-time Amazon best-selling author on the topics of happiness and friendship. Jackie wants people to know that seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness. She is talking with us today about exercise. Her website information is posted on our webpage, and this shows information.
So Jackie, thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me today. I wanted to talk with you about exercise and chronic disease and exercise, and even if you're, very, very sick toward the end of your life. There's been so much research where you look at best practices in terms of how to manage fatigue, mood, loss of appetite. And every one of those studies have exercise as the number one intervention to help people feel better. And when I would tell my patients about this, they would say, well, don't you have something else? Or don't you have a pill? Because, you feel kind of crappy and you think to yourself, I really don't want to get up and walk or go to the mailbox or walk the dog. So could you talk to us a little bit about how that's important and how to approach it so that you can start to feel better?
Sure. First of all, Marianne, thank you very much. I'm honored to be on your show. And what I want to address first is the comment that you made when patients indicate, when they say, don't you have a pill? Isn't there a pill? I take these pills. Why aren't they doing what I want them to do? The United States is hell-bent on taking medication for everything. And we've kind of put aside natural healing. We've put aside a mindset that if we change what we do and how we do it, we would feel better and look better, and in some cases not even develop some of the major illnesses that we see today, but we are consumed by medications of various sorts, and we use those medications as our new way of life, so to speak. So, if something's wrong, there's got to be a pill for it. I'm not feeling well, rather than getting up and, maybe moving around, possibly feeling a little bit better, we go for the medicine cabinet, what's in the medicine cabinet in the way of pills. And we see the results of that in the top 10 diseases that are afflicting Americans today. And I'm going to limit it to Americans because this is the United States. Mm-hmm. So the don't you have a pill? Yeah, I guess there is a pill, but are those pills doing what we really want them to do? Are they making people feel better? Are they ameliorating disease? Are they helping people live longer in some cases? What are those pills doing exactly?
And
so
also,
that's the don't you have a pill.
How are those pills interacting with all the other stuff that we're taking? Like if you have cancer, there might be a whole list of things that you can't take because of other drugs that you're taking.
Yeah, I had breast cancer back in early 2000, and I remember my oncologist saying to me, "We're going to have a long relationship." And I looked at her and I said, no, we're not. And my mindset was, I'm going to beat this thing, and I am going to get out of here, and I am never coming back here. Wow. And I beat it. That was over 20 years ago. And, years and years went on, and then I changed my diet. I wish that I had changed it back then. I wish that I had exercised more back then. But I was into the pill thing. I was into the medication thing. And, one day I said to myself, it's not working. It doesn't work. It's not doing what I thought it was going to do. I don't feel better, and I don't want cancer to come back. I was treated for cancer for 2 years, and I will never go back to that. We can't say what's going to happen to us down the road, but what I will say is, with a change of diet, eliminating the standard American diet, or SAD is what it's known as, a standard Western diet, and relying on my body's healing properties helped enormously to help me to feel better. And I exercise for several hours out of a day. I'd like to actually exercise a little bit less than that, but it's my job, and I do this in 2 places of employment, so I'm really doing quite a bit of exercise on a daily basis, and yes, it does help.
So if you're working with somebody who's had a very serious illness or recovering from a serious illness or has had a chronic disease, how do you approach that in terms of helping them begin to exercise?
Generally, when a disease process, when sickness overwhelms the body human, people who typically don't exercise wouldn't be in that kind of a mindset. It's a mindset of, gee, I feel so bad, I just don't want to do anything at all, but what should I do? And again, there's a wheel that people get on with the doctor visit, the medication, the physical therapy visits, and it's an ongoing, revolving process. But in the end, how often does the person get to a point that they feel they could have gotten to if things were different, or the medical provider knew they could have gotten to if things were different? Does that answer your question? I want to say the bottom line, generally, and perhaps not always, but most of the time, it's going to be mindset. It's going to be discipline and motivation is what is going to propel somebody from point A to point B. If they're not going to die right away, what's going to get them there is a different way of thinking. And
so how do you help them get to that different way of thinking? Because I had a patient who, I would always wear my Fitbit in clinic so people would see it. And, I had this woman who had been through many rounds of chemo for her cancer, and she was just sitting all the time. She was depressed, and we were managing the depression, and she was tired, and I said, you need to start moving your body. And her husband would come in with her, and he'd say, well, show me that Fitbit. I'm going to get you that Fitbit. Like he would do anything. And she would come in with her Fitbit, and she'd have like 60 steps a day on it. And I'd say, you're not moving. And I didn't, I don't have the degree that you do in terms of working with, that physical aspect. So what do you say to people like that to help them get moving?
I counsel people. It's interesting that you say that, because by the time I see somebody, they're typically either in the swimming pool or about getting ready to get into a swimming pool. But when I can spend time with people in the roles on my jobs, it's a matter of talking somebody into a different way of looking at their medical problem, in the small steps that can be taken, that they can take to make a couple of changes. They don't have to be quick. They don't have to be yesterday. But they want to be thinking. So what are
those steps? What are those changes?
Rather than sitting down, if you get up and move around the house, and I explain that physical activity, also it's not the same as formal exercise, but it's very excellent to get people up and moving and to get their mind focused on something else. And if I'm at the Y, for example, and I know that there's going to be a rainstorm, okay, guys, this is a great time for you to clean a closet, or you could get out there if your car is in a garage. If it's going to be rainy, you could go out there and clean the car, spend a couple of hours doing that. Or if you're low on food, you could go grocery shopping, and you can walk around the store, go to a big box store, and walk up and down the aisles. Start thinking of different things that you'd like to change in your house, and a lot of it at this time revolves around the house because of COVID, because of the lockdown, because there might be another lockdown. So it gets people moving, and it gets people in a different mindset so that they might want to do something a little bit differently. But we need to look at the root cause. So if you've got a patient who has stomach cancer, is the root cause the stomach cancer, or is the root cause a lifestyle? Is the root cause, we want to look at what the actual cause of these issues are, and then deal with them, and then work through that so that people can understand what it is exactly that happened, why it happened, and move on, and move on in a better way, to a better life, to a healthier life, to a happier life.
So it's really kinds of small steps? Is that what
you're saying?
Well,
it's small stuff for people who are not acclimated to exercise. It's not going to work to dump an exercise program on somebody who, they haven't exercised for 40 years, for 30 years. They're not. I don't know of anyone who could engage that way, or who would engage that way. And in fact, I'll use an example. People who retire when people retire in their early 60s or their late 50s, they think, well, now I've got all this time. I'm going to join a gym, and I'm really going to get in shape, and I'm going to feel better, and I'm going to work out, and I'm going to do all this stuff. Well, they get to the gym, and they find out, well, this isn't quite as easy as they thought it was going to be, and this is going to take a lot of commitment that they never had to apply to that process before in their lives, or they had forgotten how to do it, or the process had changed, and now it was almost completely new to them. And it's not as easy to stick with. It's not, and the exercises aren't as easy as they thought that they were going to be. I work with people who were in their 80s. They were superb swimmers, but not today. Mm-hmm. They might have stayed. They might have retained that ability, but too many years went by where they lost that ability, and you can't pick that up at that age or at that stage. For most of my people, it's an age thing, although many of them either have been sick or they are recovering from major illness, such as cancer or stroke.
So even things like going out and getting the mail, right? That counts.
Yeah, it's you know what? It's good because it gets somebody off their rear end, but that's not enough. If they went out and got the mail, and then they put the mail down on the stairs, and they picked up the rake and they started raking the lawn, that's even better. Mm-hmm. Or if they went back in the house, took a bucket of soap suds and, cleaned off the windows on the outside of the house, that's even better. But people don't do that. They're not. Why are people in the mindset that they're in to go back inside and take the pill, eat that food that's making them very heavy, and not do any exercise? Well, that's an issue. That is an issue to contend with.
Is that
so I don't think that it's that people are lazy. I think that it's a lifestyle that Americans lead, that many Americans lead, and this is what the lifestyle looks like. For most people, for a lot of people, this is what the lifestyle looks like. It's inadequate exercise, too much food, a lot of pills. So in my world, in the Jackie world, it's mindset, it's mind over matter, it's discipline, it's motivation to change things. Some people will say, you've got to journal because journaling will help people, see things differently, and I agree with that. But the fact is, something's got to get somebody going. And so physical therapists have wonderful programs, and nurses have wonderful programs, and I have wonderful programs. And I utilize them for all of the people that I work with. But there are a lot of people in the neighborhood who don't come to the gym. Why is that? And it's often not a matter of money. Something else is holding them back.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess maybe it's the $64 million question as to what it is that's holding them back, and what would be the factor that would maybe get them moving, because it's not an easy thing to change a lifestyle of being inactive and making not exactly great food choices, right? It's hard to do.
It is very difficult to make those changes, but the fact is people do make those changes. One day people, I don't know what happens, they have an epiphany, they're finally hearing what their medical provider or their family member is saying, and they do begin to slowly or not so slowly make some beneficial changes in their lives. But what I want to say is, from what I have seen, from the top 10 diseases that exist in the United States, that at least some of them stem from lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And the lifestyle that is promoted tends to not be one of activity.
Right.
Especially now.
Right.
It's not a lifestyle. We drive to where we're going to go. We want to park as close to the door as we possibly can. We don't want to walk. Hey, can you get that for me over there, because it's way, way over in the other aisle? Can you reach that for me? I can't reach it. And sometimes somebody is a little bit shorter, or what, their leg is in a cast, they can't reach it. But a lot of times, if they stretched a bit, they could reach it.
Mm-hmm.
Without injury, without muscle pull.
That's true at home. Is that if you're, in your
we often
chair,
we
you say to
don't.
somebody, "Get me a glass of water," or "Get me a this," or "Get me a that."
Oh, you're standing up. Would you do that for me?
Yeah.
And I think the kinder thing to say right now, and I do this with people in my family, I'm standing up, but you ought to be standing up also. Would you please get your own water? My knee hurts. Well, my back hurts. Could you please get your own water? And you got to do a tough love thing to some extent, and it's hard to do because I see that people don't feel well. There was a time when I didn't feel well. We all didn't feel well at some point or another, unless we were quite fortunate, and we knew to engage in exercise from a very young age, but it typically doesn't work that way.
Right.
And so it's not a matter that the care that people are receiving isn't good enough. It isn't that. It's a way of life in the United States that lends itself. It is a sedentary. We lead a sedentary lifestyle. This is a sedentary country.
Well, Jackie, I think that we say these things to patients all the time, and you never know who the person is that's going to say it, where it's going to stick, and they're going to say, "My God, I want to be in that world and do and be." So maybe somebody will listen to this and say, she's right. I've got to lay off the Twinkies and get my own water." Right?
Yes, we hope it happens faster. We hope it happens, and we want this to be immediate. I want to see immediate improvements in people, but it doesn't happen that way. I want people to say, "Oh, I want to contact her because she's just got the answers that I'm looking for," but it doesn't happen that way. As much as I'd like it to happen that way, and I still need to make changes in my diet, and it's hard to do. That these were such large changes, but they haven't been impossible, and I'm better for it. And and betterness is within reach. Betterness is within reach, even if somebody is going to be expiring in the next 6 months. Even if it only becomes a different mindset to help them in that process of dying.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a death of wickedness and misery. There are better ways. And the better ways come from within. I don't walk in another person's shoes. And so really when it comes right down to it, and I work with nearly 100 people at this point.
Wow.
So I don't know what happens when they go home. I don't know the players in their lives. But I do know what goes on the outside to make them look and act, to make all of us look and act the way that we do.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to change. And only the individual can make the change. So it's not a matter of the tools aren't fine enough. They haven't been refined enough. We need better technology. Well, if we aren't over-technologied, I don't know what else to say about that. Do we really need more of that? Will that do the trick, do you think? I don't think so.
There's a question too, because let's not go down that road because it'll be bad. Well, Jackie, thank you for lending your wisdom and your thoughts to our listeners, and we really appreciate you visiting with us today. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Marianne. It was an honor to be here, and I look forward to speaking with you soon.
Great. Thank you.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
Please stay tuned for the ongoing adventures of Everyone Dies. You stop singing. You stop the background noise.
Background noise? Is that what you're calling my singing?
No, I
noise?
didn't say noise.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, so please stay tuned for more adventures for more adventures about everyone dying on our show, Everyone Dies. And thank you for listening. This is Charlie Navarrete, reminding you that he who doesn't fear death dies only once.
And I'm thinking about that. And I'm Marianne Matzo. And we will see you when we move it nice and sweet and sassy. Remember, every day is a gift.
This podcast does not provide medical advice. All discussion on this podcast, such as treatments, dosages, outcomes, charts, patient profiles, advice, messages, and any other discussion are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for professional medical advice or treatment. Always seek the advice of your primary care practitioner or other qualified health providers with any questions that you may have regarding your health. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard from this podcast. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or 911 immediately. Everyone Dies does not recommend or endorse any specific tests, practitioners, products, procedures, opinions, or other information that may be mentioned in this podcast. Reliance on any information provided in this podcast by persons appearing on this podcast at the invitation of Everyone Dies or by other members is solely at your own risk.